All righty. Hey, welcome everybody. It is late. It is a late night thing for me. I was not planning on really doing this, but hey, I'll go. Let me kind of get to the basics. So basically, I was talking to a lot of people on Facebook tonight. I've been doing a lot of stuff. As you know, I've been feeling that great. Started feeling better. And so I went on Facebook to try to see if I can finally get some people to actually like engage with me and debate with me on the topics that I discuss a lot. And I found somebody who says that they want to. So there's going to be hopefully a late night debate. They're going to pick the topic. There's one of two possible discussions, and we'll see what they go with and kind of where it goes. My voice is still kind of shot, so I do apologize for that. I'm working on it. I'm still trying to get over whatever this hell crap sickness I've got. It's not the coof, because again, I've already tested negative for that. So give me 1 second here. Let me call him up. If you guys can hear me, let me know in the live chat, and let me call him right now. Can you guys hear that? Alrighty, so that should work. Hey, is this Jason?
So you want to put this live?
Yeah, well, yeah, we're already live. This is streaming. I have people actually out there watching. I let them know that I was on Facebook and I was asking for people who would like to debate me on very specific topics that I've been discussing for a very long time. My voice is shot because I am sick. I've been sick for about a month, so I apologize. There was two topics that I put out that I wanted to have a formal. You don't need to share the video. You're not on video, so you can just do it as a voice. So the two topics that were up for debate is one on agnostic atheism, whether it's a logically unambiguous system, or about atheism and agnosticism, what they generally are understood as in the realm of philosophy and in the domain of philosophy. Which one did you want to debate on?
Blizzard-like conditions plague the plains.
Which one would you like to debate on?
Can you turn off the?
Which one would you like to debate on?
Well, can you turn off the TV because there's a lot of background noise?
I'm not even looking you in the face, dude. I'm barely trying to hear with my ears.
Yeah, because you're listening to a background noise. Can you turn off your TV, maybe?
In Texas, at least 5 people were injured after tornadoes swept through the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
All right,
there we go. Now you can hear. Okay, so I'd rather. Well, the problem is I'm happy to discuss the agnostic atheism thing, but my arguments use logic, and unfortunately, you don't really have the ability at the moment to actually show me any counter arguments using any logic. But so that might be a little more difficult. However, I'll be happy to do so. So you believe that agnostic atheism, the phrase is coherent. Is that correct?
Not really. It's kind of complicit.
It's what? Complicit?
Complicit. It's not a real argument. Agnostic atheism. What the fuck is that?
I have no idea. That's what my point is. It's a nonsensical statement. Are you drunk?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, I'm not going to do this. I'm sorry. I'm looking for an honest atheist, man. I'm looking for somebody who's an honest interlocutor. What the hell would you be thinking, trying to get drunk and then want to come on to my channel to have a discussion when you I mean, this is kind of nonsensical, but I mean, I'm happy to do it. But
no, this
seriously?
is not nonsensical. What the fuck are you fucking joking about, dude? You called me. You contacted me. What the fuck is this?
Because you said you wanted to have a formal debate on it. Okay, fine. We'll have we're not going to have a formal debate because we don't
have a formal debate.
Well, you have to get a moderator for that. You want a moderator but I don't think you're in any condition to debate. But whatever. So you agree with me? Agnostic atheism is nonsensical. Then where's the debate? You were saying that I was wrong before.
Because this is stupidest fucking shit ever.
Okay, so you
either believe or you don't. There is no agnosticism. Like I don't.
Okay, so let me ask you, according to Dr. Draper on Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy, because you think you know more about this topic than I do. That's what you were saying. You literally assume that I knew nothing about these topics and you know more. So let's discuss the topics from an academic level. I assume you know who Dr. Draper is in Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy, correct?
No.
Okay, so you don't know who that is. Okay, so do you have any knowledge what agnosticism is in the ontological domain?
On the ontological, it's fucking what is it? Basically a fucking non-disclosure. I don't fucking
non-disclosure. Okay. I don't think you know what non-disclosure means. All right, so
Okay.
let me try to break this
All
down
right,
further.
cool.
Would you agree there are three epistemic, actually, there's four epistemic possible logical possibilities in the event space for any given proposition? Do you accept that it believes P, believes not P, believes P and not P, and believe neither P and not P? Do you believe that's correct?
What does P equal?
Any proposition. Any truth app
Any
proposition. Yeah, any proposition that's truth apt.
proposition that any asshole could fucking say.
Yeah, any proposition that's truth apt, where it has the ability to be true or false, is a proposition. Do you believe that a proposition can be true and false, or false?
All right, so
Do you believe a proposition can be true or false?
and I wasn't prepared for this, but yes.
But you said you were prepared for this. No, hang on, Jason. You literally said you're prepared for this. I've been setting this up for the last 50 minutes, setting this up because you said you wanted to debate me on an
you said depending on what you fucking
you
depend
said you wanted to debate me on an intellectual level because I didn't know what I was talking about. Demonstrate that I don't know what I'm talking about to my audience who's listening. I have people right now listening live to you trying to demonstrate that I don't know what I'm talking about. And so far I've asked you questions and you don't know what the hell I'm talking about. So let's try this again.
Sweet.
Do you agree that a proposition can be true or false?
All right.
It's a yes or no question. No?
What was the question?
I feel like I'm talking to a flat earther. A proposition can be true or false.
Depending on the linguistics.
How does linguistics have anything to do with a truth apt proposition? A proposition, by definition, can only be true or false. Are you familiar with the basic laws of logic? Do you know what the difference between the law of identity is, the law of non-contradiction, and the law of excluded middle?
What are you trying to prove here, homie?
I'm asking you a question. You're the one that wanted to debate me. We're having a discussion. You weren't able to have a formal debate because we were going to do it on Chris Attlee's channel, which was Hereticals. He was unavailable. He's not going to be able to stream for a few more hours. So I said, okay, let's just set this up and have an informal discussion. You think you know about this topic more than I do. You sat there on Facebook and told me how much I didn't know about this topic, and you were some kind of ability. You have this ability to prove me wrong. So here you are, live. Prove me wrong. Show me a proposition that is not true or false. How's that even possible?
You're wrong, motherfucker. Prove it. Prove it.
Prove what?
Prove it.
I'm literally asking you simple questions, proving that you may not know what you think you know. If you don't even know a proposition could be true or false, how the hell are you going to argue about basic logic with me?
Well, let's have that basic fucking argument.
Okay. Again, for any given proposition, you have four epistemic possibilities in the event space. Believes P is true, believes P is false, neither believes P and not P, or believes both P and not P, which I would hope you would realize is a epistemic contradiction, would you not? Do you not agree that believing something true and believing something false is an epistemic contradiction?
It's totally existential. How the hell is that
existential? Do you know what existentialism is? Can you give me a name? Give me a person who follows existentialism. Can you name one? Nietzsche, Kierkegaard, any of them? Okay. So I'm a little confused here, Jason. You were telling me you would run circles around me basically on Facebook on the topic of agnostic and atheism, saying that I was wrong, that I didn't even understand the basics of philosophy and logic. Were you not telling me this basically? Were you not saying that to me? So I said, okay, fine. I'm looking for somebody who wants to debate these two topics. I even allowed you to pick the two topics.
Don't believe you understand them, but
I don't understand them. I don't understand. So let me get this. Let me try to wrap my head around this. You don't even know who Dr. Draper is. I'm assuming you don't know who Dr. Oppie is. I'm assuming you have no understanding of the laws of logic. And you're going to tell me that I don't understand a topic that I have been discussing for over a decade with 10 million views on my YouTube channels, with 2,000 videos, with one of the most successful podcasts on FM radio that was the #1 podcast for about a year in philosophy of religion, and you're going to tell me that I don't know what I'm talking about. Okay, that's fine. I want you to do that. I want you to disagree with me. Now prove it. Prove it.
Extensionalism is where the fucker.
So prove to
where's
me.
your God?
Prove to
Prove
me.
it.
Prove to me.
Prove it.
Prove to me that
Prove to me.
Yes, prove to me that this is your claim. Agnosticism only deals with knowledge. That was your claim. How do you expect to prove that when in the ontological domain, when talking about the existence of God?
Agnosticism means I don't fucking know.
Which is a statement of ordinary doubt on the inability to be able to directly answer the propositional questions.
Okay, so, I mean, out of a fucking ton of mushrooms I've done, DMT and everything else, where is the fucking God? Where is God?
Okay, so let me get this straight here.
Where is God? That's the extent of this whole problem. Where is it? Where fuck is it?
All right, so people out there, I want people to recognize that this is the state of new atheism right here. This is what I've been dealing with on Facebook. You wonder why I get frustrated. Hey, Mikey Famine out there in the audience. You wonder why I get frustrated that I cannot find an intelligent atheist out there to debate me on simple concepts. None of them are able to do so because none of them have a freaking clue what they're talking about on these topics. The ones that do have a clue,
existentialism is a fucking joke.
The ones that I do have a clue agree with me. So this is why I'm telling you. This is what happens when you think you know about a topic that you don't, right?
Where the fuck is it?
Where is what? I'm not religious, dude. I'm not even a theist. I don't believe in God. Why would you ask me such silly questions? Do you think asking somebody, where is God, is a defeater to basic logic? You don't even know basic logic, and you're criticizing my arguments based on a position of ignorance, and then saying some kind of defeater, oh, well, you can't prove God exists. I never claimed I could prove God exists because I don't believe that you can, because I'm not a freaking theist. How difficult is that to understand? Do you understand what a theist is? A theist who is accepted as somebody who believes in God. I don't believe in God. How am I a theist? Am I kicking puppies at this point? No, he's drunk off his ass. But this is the state of new atheism TM that I keep telling you guys about. It's ridiculous. And I didn't know. By the way, I swear to God, that may or may not exist. I didn't know he was drunk. He was talking shit on Facebook, mad shit, on a post where I said, I'm looking for somebody to debate who is an honest interlocutor. This is not an honest interlocutor. This is somebody who's dishonest, intellectually and otherwise. You know? So, anyways, I apologize, guys. I really thought that I was going to have an actual discussion with somebody that could show any of my arguments being wrong. This is clearly not it, and I'm sorry for that. I know I've been streaming much. Again, you can tell by my voice, I'm still not 100%, but I wasn't expecting this level of incompetence. This is not what I signed up for. Jason, I appreciate it, but you clearly have no idea what you're talking about. I would highly recommend never engaging on the topic of atheism or agnosticism when you don't even have the most fundamental basic concepts of what these terms are used for in the academic and domain of philosophy or philosophy of religion or epistemology. It makes us non-believers look stupid. And as a non-believer, as somebody that's in the same tribe as you, I am mortified that someone like yourself would be engaging with a theist or anybody else using this kind of hyperbolic rhetoric that serves absolutely no purpose but dumbs people down. It's mystifying that anybody in their right mind would think that you have a clue what you're talking about. Maybe you just need to sleep it off, and maybe we could try it another time when you're not so drunk.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, appreciate it. All right, good night. All right, I apologize, guys. I did not expect that guy to be drunk off his ass. If you go to the Facebook groups, I've literally been asking people to debate me on Agnostic Atheist, asking if they can have a logical schema that works. Clearly, nobody's been able to do that yet. I mean, even Matt Dillahunty has finally come around after how many years and acknowledged that agnostic atheism is nonsensical. And of course, let's be realistic. He believes that now because of my arguments. He actually, every time, for some reason, every time the topic of agnostic atheism comes up, Matt Dillahunty mentions my name. So it was because of my arguments that he's no longer an agnostic atheist and he rejects that term. But he'll never give me credit for it. So come on. But anyways, like I said, I do apologize. that I had no idea this guy was just, drunk off his ass. I thought he was talking mad shit. But I thought he seriously was going to try to at least attempt to show my arguments wrong. But this is, like I said, this is the state of the debate. This is what I got to deal with. I've talked to hundreds of people on Facebook in the last couple of days because I haven't been doing much on streaming, trying to conserve my voice. And so I've been doing a lot on Facebook more than I have on YouTube. And so I've engaged with all these different people, and not a single one is able to engage on an honest level. I don't think. I could say that A equals A, and some atheist is going to go, "Can you prove God though?" It's ridiculous. I think that's some kind of magical retort for anything that you say, any argument you say. I argue this, but can you prove God? You know how dumb it sounds when you tell a non-theist or ask a non-theist if they can prove God exists? That is not some magical counter argument or rejoinder to any argument. It just makes you sound stupid. It makes you sound like you are not engaging on the actual merit of the arguments being presented. This is why. Oh, by the way, I just had a supposed expert in logic. I don't know if he was PhD or not, but he says as an expert in logic, he read my paper. He said, "Yeah, your paper's logically valid, but your definitions are wrong." I'm like, my definitions are wrong? How can my definitions be wrong? That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. These are premises, and the definitions I use, believe it or not, were atheism as a lack of belief. And then I did a reductio ad absurdum, basically. And I showed if you use the definition of atheism as a lack of belief, it leads to semantic collapse. But he's like, your definitions are wrong. I mean, but that was the premise. The whole premise was if you use atheism as a lack of belief, this is what happens. And he's like, yeah, that's valid if that's the case. I'm like, then the proof is valid, then sound. It's a good argument. You're not proving the arguments wrong by saying that you think I have a bad definition. That's stupid. Either the premises are true or they're not true. And if you accept the premises are true, then the argument has to be valid and sound. It has to be. It literally is a proof. I mean, it blew me away that he said, yeah, it's logically correct, but your definitions are wrong. Oh, shut up. I mean, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Especially when, again, I'm proving that the lack of belief usage of atheism will lead to semantic collapse. But anyways, Mojack says, find somebody who disagrees with you in some form of debate on third channel like Modern Day Debate. I did. I was trying to, dude. Modern Day Debate was helping me out try to find somebody. He couldn't. He's like everybody who knows philosophy agrees with you. So how am I going to find somebody that is willing to disagree with you that actually knows the topic? That's the problem, Momo Jack. And then I was going to do it on Chris Attlee's channel, Hereticals, tonight, but he had to wait 2 more hours to do it, and this guy wasn't going to wait, so I was like, fine, I'll do it on my channel. But I mean, this is sad that this is the best I can get. I'm looking for a challenge. I'm looking for somebody who knows what the frick they're talking about. You know, I've had Dr. Oppie on my channel. I've had, Dr. Mary Schweitzer on my channel, Dr. Lawrence Krauss on my channel, Dr. Fuzz Rana, Dr. Hugh Ross, all these, established people. And we have great conversations, and so I'm looking for somebody with a little bit of modicum of understanding of atheism to come and have a discussion with me live, and then we'll do it. As a matter of fact, some of you even argue, what do you need to know about atheism? Atheism is just a lack of belief. I'm like, then explain to me why on Internet Encyclopedia of Philosophy and Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy and Encyclopedia Britannica, they have all these, huge articles on atheism. Why are there books written on atheism? Why is, J.L. Mackey's A Miracle of Theism, arguments for and against God? Why is that so big a book? I mean, it's dense. Why is that if there's nothing to know about atheism? So. Anyways, I don't know. Like I said, I'm a little frustrated that this is the best I can get nowadays. It's like people have told me I'm a victim of my own success. People are scared to debate me because they know I'm going to be asking for things like evidence, logic, reason. And even that expert in logic, I'd asked him, okay, well, what does agnostic on P mean? And he says, well, it means that you're not knowledgeable on P. And I'm like, where is that? Could you give me a citation for that? I've read a lot of papers on the subject, and I've never seen agnostic on P used that way. However, I'm not going to be so arrogant to say it can't be used that way. I've never seen it used that way. Sure, let's go for it. Show me where it's used that way. If that's the normative understanding, which you ought to use, or as how it's used, show me. Do you know what he provided for evidence? I'll give you a hint. It was nothing. Anyway, so, how about this? I'll open this up. If you guys want to maybe try to come in, I doubt if anybody will, but if you want to come in and have a chat tonight, since I'm already streaming, let me know. Let's see here. I love, Zisfer says, I'd love to see you debate a LCMS Lutheran. I'm not sure what that is. I'm sorry. Adam Lore, Steve, is your argument that the commonly accepted definition has logical problems, or that it is incoherent, that the lack of belief is the definition of atheism? Neither. Those are neither one of my arguments. My arguments are in the video description, that atheism, as the belief or theory or claim or doctrine that God does not exist, is the most common understanding of the term in philosophy of religion. And there's many reasons why it should be the normative and common definition, or understand. I shouldn't say definition, but understanding. Dr. Draper gives at least 3 solid reasons why we should not accept atheism as mere lack of belief, right? And they're very good reasons. So I argue that, and I also say that the quadrant system, right, for the epistemic modification of the word atheism by agnostic and agnostic, when you have like agnostic atheism, that schema, that 4-quadrant schema is clearly epistemically wrong. It is not viable. It has ambiguities. It is not logically correct. It can't be unambiguated, I don't think. That is my position right now. If somebody can unambiguate it, I will be happy to listen to them. That's what I want them to try to do. Maybe it can't be, but I've never seen how, and I've certainly been trying for a long time to unambiguate it logically, and I've been unsuccessful to do it. So maybe somebody who knows logic better can do it, but I don't see how. But that's what I argue. And so, like I said, even Matt Dillahunt, he recognizes that agnostic atheism doesn't make any sense in the weak case. It can only possibly even remotely make sense in the positive case. So atheism has to be the belief that God does not exist before you can even begin to epistemically modify it. And so that was an argument that I've been saying for how long? And that's something that Matt Dillahunt has come around and agreed with, and he uses the same argument. So I know he's heard my argument. I know, and I can tell you probably 2 names almost for certainty that I've talked to him on this particular topic. So yeah, I'm looking for an atheist that will argue they can show a logical schema that works for that. And so far, I can't find any. Momo Jack says, find somebody who doesn't know philosophy, then explain debate why they're wrong. Well, I mean, these guys all say they know about philosophy, right? They all say they know about the topics. That's the problem. Usually all you need is exposure, and more honest debaters start speaking up. Actually, I've got exposure, man. People know who I am. I'm pretty familiarized in the name recognition in the philosophical communities. But all the philosophical communities I'm in, none of them want to debate me on it because none of them disagree with me on it. I don't know any philosopher that's willing to disagree with me on any of this. Some of them will find it, maybe pettifogging at best, They might say, whatever, you're right, but who cares? But that's just, an attitude. That's not a statement that I'm wrong. But I don't think any of them have bothered well, actually, I could tell you right now, all the experts that have read my paper can't find any errors with it. Even that guy said, yeah, it's logically valid. I'm like, okay, great. Then he starts arguing that the definitions are wrong. Well, that just is nonsensical to me, right? I'm literally arguing that if you define atheism as a lack of belief, if it's a conditional, then this is what happens. And by the way, I actually had, people have argued with me on conditionals. If this, then that. And they're like, oh, well, yeah, you're arguing conditional. Ha, ha, ha. Yeah, well, yeah, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with the conditional? And they don't understand that a conditional is always true if and only if the consequent is not false and the antecedent is not true. Or true, sorry. When you have a implication, right? A conditional implication. That only is false if Q is false and P is true. That's the only time. So if P is false, then it doesn't matter where Q is because the conditional is always true. But they don't seem to understand that. So if I said something on Facebook, I said, and now think about this, guys. I said, if S knows that P, then P must be true. That statement has always got to be true. There's no case where that can be false because if Q is false where P is not true, then P S cannot know that P is true, right? Because you only know P if and only if P is the case. So the conditional, if S knows that P, then P is true, is always, always true in real life, because you can't have a case where you can know something where you can know P and have P be false. So that conditional has to be true. But they didn't understand that. And then so I was trying to explain to them, look, if a theist knows that God exists, then God must exist. That's just simple logic by what's called transcendental argumentation. Transcendental argumentation is when you have a necessary precondition for something, and if that condition is met, or is something exists that has to have that condition, then you can argue it to be the case. For example, if P being true is a necessary precondition for knowledge, then if you do know something, then it must be the case that it's true, because you cannot know something that's false. So if I say, if a theist knows God exists, then it must be the case that God exists. That has to be true. There's no case where that can be false. But they didn't understand that, and so I have all these atheist knee-jerking reactions to me going, that's just stupid. Prove your God, but you haven't proven God. But it's never been proven God exists. But that's not the argument. They are so full of straw man argumentation, and recently I have seen more atheists argue straw mans than I have creationists, or even flat earthers for that matter. It's gotten to the point where it's absolutely comical. Let me check the live chat. Adam Lore, is your position that atheism does not mean believing in God rather than lack of belief, or that atheism should mean believing in God? Atheism is polysemous. It can mean either of them. It can mean you can believe in God or you don't believe in God. But the problem is like I said, either atheism is the belief in God as the most well understood usage of that term in philosophy, or it is not. I argue that it is, and all the evidence points that it is. Also, there's major issues by defining something in the negative. And that's my argument from spaghetti, if you're familiarized with that. The argument for spaghetti that I coined was very simple. If you argue prescriptively that the definition of a word prescribes anybody who meets that definition is the word, which I coined the fallacy argumentum ad prescriptorium. If you argue that, then go look up the definition of spaghetti. Can somebody go look it up for me? We'll play a little game here. Go look up the definition on Google of spaghetti. Yeah. Godless Girl can host a debate. Yeah, and moderate. I'm okay with that. Sure. Ivan Van Veen says, the consequent takes a toll on the antecedent modus tollens. That is the only way I can remember it. Yeah, well, yeah, the consequent, right, think about this. If the consequent is true, then the conditional must be true always. There's no case when it's not. If the antecedent is false, then the conditional must always be true. For the same reasoning. Because if the antecedent of the conditional is false, there's no possible case where the conditional is true, or excuse me, is false, because if you look at the truth tables for a conditional, the only time in a truth table where the conditional fails is when the antecedent is true and the consequent is false. So if the consequent is true, it makes no difference what the antecedent is. It's true. If the antecedent is false, then it makes no difference what the consequent is, because it's the conditional is true. But a lot of people just aren't set up to think that way. And when I try to explain to them on Facebook these things, they think that I'm the one that doesn't understand basic logic. You know, it's ridiculous. Hi, Udahef. I don't want, dude, right now, exposure is not what I'm going for. I'm actually wanting less exposure. I'm not interested in views. I'm not, I will have my streams, and I definitely, have my subscribers and my members and my Patreons, and I'll be putting out more content right after season. Season's killing me right now, though. But I don't really care whether, I have 1,000 people watching or 10 nowadays. I just don't care. I'm going to be putting out what I want to put out, especially after season. And this channel is going to be dedicated to critical thinking. it's going to be dedicated to using probably New Atheism TM to expose bad critical thinking more than I ever have before. And if people want to watch it, great. If they don't, they can unsubscribe, and I'm fine with that. They get the million things where people can watch. I'm not catering to anybody anymore. I do what the fuck I want on my channels as long as it's within TOS, and I'm going to continue to do that. So, yeah, it's gonna be a lot more of this kind of stuff. Debating. I want to have people come in and show me in real time that my arguments are wrong. But so far, this is the best I can get. This is sad. If this is the best atheist I can get to argue with me, come on, guys. I mean, I felt like I was kicking a puppy, man. It's utterly ridiculous. By the way, is my chat okay on the outside, or am I double chatting here? Is it posting twice? No, it looks good. I guess it's right. So, anyways, I mean, other than exposure, I mean, what do you guys suggest to how I find, I would say, reasonably educated, articulate, and honest interlocutors that will come on and actually try to show that I'm wrong? It's very rare. They all get so skittish. It's like, no, I'm not going to put, my reputation on the line and argue with Steve when they know they're going to have to be bringing evidence. The first question I'm going to ask somebody is, okay, let's see your evidence, let's see your reasoning, let's see your argumentation. I couldn't do that with this drunk guy, obviously. He was just, out of his depths. But even when I asked, this guy that was a logician, okay, if you argue that agnostic on P means withholding knowledge on P, can you give me a citation for this? I've never read a paper where this means this way. What's your evidence? I back all my stuff up with evidence, but they don't seem to do this. And I don't understand why. Hi, William. So yeah, I'm a little bit disappointed right now in the state of atheism. I promote non-belief, as far as I'm a non-believer. I want secularism. I want atheists to be much stronger in debates than theists. I think there's really good arguments for atheism. And when I see an idiot out there going, atheism is merely a lack of belief, there's nothing to know about it, how dumb does that sound to people? That should sound absolutely ridiculous. That would be as comical saying, hey, what do you need to know about Christianity other than, Jesus? Well, there's a lot of shit to know about Christianity. I'm not really that interested in it. But to think that Christianity is only about Jesus, existing, that's pretty foolish, right? But that's what they think atheism is. Oh, atheism is just this. No, it's not. As far as a subject, I mean, atheism, like I said, typically is the belief that God does not exist in philosophy, and I have not had anybody show me otherwise. And that's disconcerting when people are out there promoting misinformation. It really makes us non-believers look silly. And when you have, people out there like Secular Outpost, who is a philosopher on Facebook, he said, hey, look, when you start using terms like Sky Daddy and Invisible Friend, you're not making any points in your argument. You're not defeating anything. You just sound like a child. And I happen to agree with him. These atheists have gone to such... what's funny is they actually, to me, they seem to have been taking pages of empty negative rhetoric from flat earthers and young earth creationists. They've turned into what they hate. If they cannot provide evidence, then how are they any different than a flat earther? Or if they think that a dictionary that is sensu lato, that is synchronic, that means broad and it explains how a word is being used. If they think that prescribes word usage, I mean, that just tells you how fractally wrong they are. But again, did anybody look up spaghetti? Come on, don't make me do everything here. What's the difference for spaghetti? Somebody? Ivan says, do terms like latheist turn up in any academic literature? No, latheism was coined by Ozzy, so I don't think, obviously it wouldn't. But they do refer to atheism as lack of belief that God exists. Draper in SEP mentions, he says actually is radically differing from the philosophical usage. Departing, I think he says departing from the norm. There is this position that atheists want to push atheism as just a lack of belief. And then he goes on to explain in the paper why that's a bad idea. Right? So, but the argument that I have is that atheism is the most well understood usage as the belief that God does not exist. And then, if somebody wants to argue, well, okay, that's true, But outside of philosophy, okay, then that's their thing. But if they can't even admit that in philosophy that's true, then how much am I supposed to take them seriously? You know, I don't go into Clubhouse, and I find Clubhouse, all those people in there just contrarians. They'll argue anything just for the sake of arguing. You know. Adam Lohr says, one of the recent videos convinced me of your definitional system. Who is to blame for for the newer uses of atheism, agnostic? Dawkins? No, I actually, you know what's funny? There's a guy named Dan Barker, if you're familiar with him. Dan Barker was or is an author. He's not a philosopher. He's not an expert in anything that, to my knowledge, he is an author. But he used a fallacy called equivocation. And equivocation is basically when you use a word differently in two different ways in an argument, or obfuscate by using a word differently. And so he was trying to convince atheists at one time that agnosticism means about knowledge. It's a position of knowledge. And he had all the YouTube atheists out there having that talking point. Matter of fact, there's a great video out there. I don't remember what channel it was on, but there's a great video where you hear like Jacqueline, what the hell is her name? Glenn, and you're going, atheism is just a lack of belief. And then you hear like all these other different atheists out there go, well, atheism is merely a lack of belief. Atheism, lack of belief. And you had all these atheists parroting this thing. And they would also say, because agnosticism is not a third position. Agnosticism deals with knowledge. And then you ask any of them for a citation of how in the ontological domain, dealing with God's existence, dealing with the question, does God exist? Show me one shred of evidence that agnosticism on that question has to do with knowledge. There isn't any. I've never seen any. I've never seen a shred of evidence for that. You know, I read a lot of stuff. And so they're just as dishonest as flat earthers. They just spew things by fiat. Because when you're talking about the question, does God exist? There are three rational epistemic positions. You can believe God exists, you can believe God does not exist, or you can have no position either way. That is the agnostic position. And we all know this. Anybody who understands basic philosophy knows this. But you have these new atheists out there spewing this nonsense that agnosticism deals with knowledge. But that makes no sense. How can agnosticism deal with knowledge when you're asking about a question of God, does God exist, and you don't have a position either way, which is agnostic? I mean, it just makes no sense. I mean, even if you look at Dr. Burgess Jackson or Dr. Demi, both of them make it very clear, or Dr. Draper, they all make it very clear that agnosticism is the position of non-belief of both P and not P. Matter of fact, even Dr. McCormick even puts that. No, I'm sorry. Was it Dr.? I think it was Dr. McCormick. Is that? I think if I'm thinking the right article. See, I like to check my stuff too. I'm sorry. I hate putting out misinformation. So I think, yeah, it was from Atheism, and so that was Dr. McCormick, who wrote the Atheism article on IEP. He's from Cal State, Sacramento. So it even says in IEP. Traditionally, where's it at? I just lost it again. Here we go. So agnosticism is traditionally characterized as neither believing that God exists nor believing that God does not exist. So can somebody explain to me how that has to do with knowledge? What does that have to do with knowledge? Now, again, I asked for evidence from new atheists, and they can't give me any. They can't show me how that's wrong. Because they're conflating the epistemic domain with the ontological domain. They're trying to smuggle in a different proposition. Because they don't even say it. Dan Barker even said it. He'd be like, oh, agnosticism answers a different question. That was big on the atheist experience for a while. Agnosticism answers a different question. Well, sure, in the epistemological domain, that means the question, God's knowability, the proposition, are gods knowable? Okay, but that's not the question. The question isn't, are gods knowable? the question is, does God exist? Which is a gnostic question about your beliefs. So you ask a new atheist, okay, if the proposition is God is knowable, you have three epistemic rational positions. Believes God is knowable, believes God is not knowable, or have no position either way on the knowability of God, which is agnostic. So you could be agnostic on agnosticism? Seems pretty silly, doesn't it? I mean, I don't know, man. It blows my mind that atheism, the people that are promoting atheism want to be the rational, critical thinkers, and yet some of them are literally the worst critical thinkers I've ever seen in my entire life. I mean, I will say they're as bad as flat earthers. I'm gonna say they're not even as bad. Excuse me. I would say this: creationists are not even as bad as new atheists. Creationists at least try to argue stuff. At least creationists try to show evidence. It's wrong. Don't get me wrong. It is very, 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 very wrong. But you actually have experts out there in a particular field arguing for creationism and willing to step up and do so. New atheists aren't willing to step up and produce any evidence that shows they're wrong. They're not willing to step forward and actually argue the questions. They will obfuscate. They will ambiguate. They equivocate. But not one of them will just say, here's the evidence that agnosticism on the proposition, does God exist, deals with knowability. Not one will do that. Hey, Godless Scummer, nice of you to join us. The guy, I think you missed it earlier, but yeah, he came on, but he was drunk as hell, and he didn't even know who Dr. Draper was, or Dr. Oppie was, or he didn't know what a proposition was. And this guy was telling me how wrong I was on Facebook. It's like, come on. I'm just mortified at the state of atheism these days. Where are all the smart atheists? I mean, there are some, don't get me wrong. Joe from Answers and Reason, love that dude. Dude, that dude is like almost always on point. Trolley Dave, that dude is almost always on point. Actually, you know what? I don't even know anything I disagree with either of them on. I'm even accept more realism as they do. And value more pluralism as they do. I think the three of us have probably almost the same positions. If any of them are miracological nihilists, we're going to be the same people probably. Because I mean, I kind of tend to miracological nihilism to some degree. But I mean, like Blake, look at Ben Speed Watkins and the Real Atheology Project. Those guys are great, but they're not that popular. You know, Answers and Reasons, not that popular. Me, not that popular. I mean, philosophers know who we are. Anybody in the philosophical communities on Facebook or Twitter or on YouTube probably has heard of either me, Answers and Reason, or the Real Atheology. But, you know, we're not like, 50 million subs kind of stuff. We're not like, as popular as like the Atheist Experience. And yet we're the ones actually talking about atheism. We're the ones that actually explain to people about atheism. We actually explain to people what a logical argumentation is. You don't ever see groups like American Atheists talking about what it means to have a logical argument. None of them bothered to get into the nuts and bolts of these subjects. They don't get behind the under the hood kind of, so to speak. We go under the hood and tell you these are the tools you'll need in order to have a productive dialogue in a dialectic. These are the tools you'll need to understand about a burden of proof. These are the tools you'll need to understand if an argument is logically valid and sound. And when I have an atheist on Facebook telling me that I have an argument that is not valid, when it's logically valid, I have to question their understanding of the very basic principles of logic. And instead of saying, okay, Steve, can you please explain to me why this is the case, which I'm happy to do, they go, can you prove your God, Steve? Prove your God. Hey, Steve, have you proven God exists? They think that's some kind of magical defeater. Just you weren't ever a mod. Yeah, and I appreciate it, Goddess. But you would make a great mod, dude. Seriously. Some smart atheists have been hanging with Brojo in the 420 Cafe. Brojo's not exactly the sharpest knife in the cutlery set. So I find that to be funny. So tell me, who are some of the more educated atheists out there in the communities? Besides, obviously, I'm going to go with Joe. I'm going to go with Dave, from both of them from Answers and Reasons. I'm going to go with Ben Speed Watkins from Real Ain't Theology. Who else would you recommend? Obviously people like Secular Outpost. But as far as like theists, I mean, there's a lot of theists I recommend to understand these concepts. And they may not believe atheism is true, but you know what? They still know a lot about the topic. I'm a huge fan of Dr. Rasmussen. I don't understand his work, to be honest with you, but I'm not going to be out there advocating that his work is wrong because I don't know enough about the subjects that he talks about. He's way out of my depths. I tried reading his book with Alexander Press that he wrote called Necessary Existence. It's a hard read. It is a hard read. It's very dense. So I don't know if his arguments are valid and sound or not. You know, I mean, I'm going to probably say that they're not sound, but only because, you know, I would probably have to reject some of the premises. But that doesn't make them bad arguments. It may not prove God, but it might be evidence that the probability of God is marginally higher because of that argument, which is fine. I have no problem with that. Also, I think Swinburne has some really, really tough arguments. I think that, let's see, who else is really good? Well, I mean, even Inspiring Philosophy, Michael Jones. I mean, I'm not agreeing with a lot of things that Michael Jones has, but you know what? He's a nice guy, and he certainly will discuss a lot of things that you know, other people may not discuss, or other theists may not discuss. Let's see here. Momo says, if you want to find good arguments against your position, then you're going to have to expose your arguments outside of your own channel. I literally put a paper on Academic EDU that 1,500 people have read. That is in the top 3% of the papers read right now. I don't know where else I could put my argument. I have a blog out there that I have had, you know, tens of thousands of views on. What else can I do? If you engage with some idiots, smart people who are bound to hear, I've been at this a very long time. And again, the educated people don't really disagree with me. So, Danny from Phil Talk is good. I'm not sure I'm familiar with him. So, yeah, I'm not sure I'm familiar with him. But anyways, I'm probably going to want to save my voice, but yeah, maybe, like I said, starting after this season, I got 2 more weeks of Christmas, and then maybe I could jump into it again, and I mean actively go around on Discord and on Facebook and on Twitter and try to find people of a reasonable caliber to debate. I do have other subjects I want to discuss. I'm still trying to find somebody willing to talk about local realism on the Non Sequitur show. Like I said, I haven't had a lot of time and energy to find somebody to discuss that. But if you know somebody that knows about local realism, I would love to have a discussion on that particular topic. I do absolutely think that local realism is dead. It's actually been proven. So I do not think at all that realism is true on the local level. That's just it. I've always said that hidden variables are dead. The only thing that can get around to that, I think, is what's called superdeterminism, which I don't particularly think is viable, because superdeterminism to me implies fatalism and obviously no free will, which I don't accept anyways. As far as that, I don't think free will exists. But I mean, you have to have fatalism to have superdeterminism. So I don't believe in fatalism, and I think superdeterminism is radical. Although there are some experts that still accept superdeterminism as possible. But that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for somebody who wants to like come and explain what the experiments showed, why Bell's inequality is so powerful, why quantum is unlike anything we understand as far as classical understandings. That's what I have an interest in. He's not allowed on my channel, Goddess Scummer. Sorry, he is not allowed on my channel for previous trolling. And I wish it wasn't the case, but I don't want him around. He's part of other groups that I want nothing to do with, and they just need to stay away from my channel. And he never apologized. So, what was the spaghetti definition again? Well, look it up. Well, I mean, I forgot about that. So, can anybody go look with the spaghetti? And it's Spooky Bed here. If you want to contact me on Facebook and apologize for the shit that you were saying before about me and all this other stuff in the Non-Secular Show on Bullinator, maybe I might be able to be willing to have a discussion with you. But you were talking some mad shit and saying some pretty disgusting, vile stuff back in the day. And I don't know why. I never did a damn thing to you. But you sided, a lot with the trolls, and I don't get why. And Bullinator stuck up for you, and the only reason I had you around because Bullinator did so. And then even he was kind of surprised some of the things he saw you seeing. Not to bring up Bull as any kind of weaponization, but so yeah. If you want to talk to me on a different platform, Spooky Bed here, I'd like to know why the hell you were trolling me at one time. Nobody looked up spaghetti? Do I have to do all the work? Spaghetti. Now, one person could go Google spaghetti definition? Really? All right, here. Spaghetti. This is called my spaghetti argument, or argument from spaghetti. That's what it says for spaghetti. A pasta made in long, slender, solid strings. Now, if that's the definition of spaghetti, then one would be epistemically committed to have to argue that angel hair pasta is spaghetti because it meets that, quote, definition. But any chef or Italian will tell you that angel hair pasta is not spaghetti. So if the definition of spaghetti is pasta made in long, slender, solid strings, and you argue anything that is a pasta made in long, slender, solid strings, which is prescriptivism, is pasta, you have to argue that angel hair pasta is spaghetti. That's no different than arguing that if it says atheism, a person who does not believe God exists, if you argue that any person who does not believe God doesn't exist, atheism, a person who does not believe God exists, if you argue that atheism is that, so any persons who does not believe God exists is an atheist, you have to argue the argument from spaghetti that any noodle that is a pasta in long, slender, solid strings is a spaghetti. So angel hair pasta, according to a prescriptivist definition, according to atheist, would have to be spaghetti. That's my argument from spaghetti. Does it make sense? Anybody, any questions on that? William Freeman, does that make sense? Do you get that? Do you agree? Argument from spaghetti. And it's very simple. A dictionary does not tell you how a word is prescribed. It gives you a simple description. And the description may or may not meet sufficient conditions for other types of terminologies. A square is defined mathematically as a specific thing in mathematics, right? A square has a prescriptive definition, right? Of four equal lines with four internal right angles. A parallelogram, right? With four internal right angles with all sides being equal. That is a sufficient definition for a square in mathematics. But if you just have a sensu lato dictionary that gives you a description of something that says a square, a parallelogram with four sides, that's fine. Because it's not saying that all things that have all parallelograms with four sides are a square. It's just giving you a very, very, very broad definition of the description of a square. That's all dictionaries do, is give you a very broad description. Some are more, descriptive than others. But if it says, and I'm not saying it does, but I'm saying if a dictionary said square, a four-sided parallelogram, that's not false. That's a true statement. Are not squares a four-sided parallelogram? Yes. But does that mean that all four-sided parallelograms are square? No. So how is a descriptive definition for atheism any freaking different? I'm not going to use a different food because that's the only one I looked up for my argument, right? Argument from spaghetti. That's the only one I looked up. So, like I said, guys, give me a few more weeks. This season, I got to get over with. starting from 2023. I have somebody else who wants to do a new podcast with me. We've just been shitty to try to get a hold of each other because it's been just very different times. But I want to work with him on some kind of new show. It'll be on a completely different channel. But that won't be for a few more weeks at the minimum. But I just want to let you guys know, as far as this channel, it's going to be dedicated to critical thinking, and I will be using a lot of new atheist examples for that. So if you don't like that, just unsubscribe. Don't fuck with me. Don't announce your departure. This isn't LAX. I don't care. I love my subscribers that stick around. I love people that want to learn. But I understand there's a million things you want to watch, and if your interest is not critical thinking, not logic, not reason, not philosophy, not science, not atheology, then yeah, this channel's not going to have much interest for you. But I will be talking about logic. I have a couple PhDs that still want to come on and talk. I still have a PhD in mathematics that wants to come on and talk about set theory and talk about not just axiomatic set theory, but talk about rings and fields and things of that nature, right? If you remember anything from ring theory, which will be interesting. But I think that when we have these discussions, especially when you have these debates with theists, if people aren't able to properly analyze the arguments, then they're doing no service to anyone. They're not being productive. I mean, here let's just tell it the way it is. I believe very strongly that there's no actual logical proof that God exists, nor is there a logical proof that God does not exist. I believe no such thing exists. In fact, I believe that probably will never be such a proof. However, that I will be happily able to change my position on if I was ever shown a proof that God exists or God does not exist, right? But as of right now, I think it's pretty safe to say that most of us would say there is no proof, and I mean a logical proof. I'm not talking about evidence. There's evidence for God and there's evidence against God. That's just reality. Anybody who says otherwise, don't have a conversation with them. If you're going into a conversation with somebody and they tell you there's no evidence for God, just walk away. If they say there's no evidence against God, just walk away. I mean, they have no idea what the hell they're talking about. Evidence is something to be evaluated. There's evidence pro God and con God. That's what J.L. Mackie wrote a book about, explaining the arguments for and against God. Of course, there's evidence either way. It doesn't have to be strong evidence. You don't have to accept it. But that's not the same as a proof. I think all of us agree this. I apologize for my coughing. And I apologize. I shouldn't mute, and I don't, but I'm on a roll here. But I think all of us agree there's no actual logical proof of either way. So to say as a defeater, well, you haven't proven God exists or you haven't proven God does not exist, that's irrelevant. That's just empty rhetoric. If you see an atheist out there just hey, theist, you haven't proved your God, they're not interested in an honest discussion. They're not trying to ever argue something that is objectively the case. They know a theist is never going to say, here's a proof for God that's and there it is that is valid and sound, that actually is valid and sound. They know that it's probably not going to happen. So they don't put on their big boy pants and take a chance and try to argue something that's objectively true. Like, for example, when I argue 0.99 and repeating equals 1, I do so with objective evidence that any mathematician could go validate. And so that's an objective fact of the matter, right? There's nothing subjective about that. It is a mathematical fact. So when somebody debates me on that topic, they're never going to win. They can't win. It's impossible for them to win as far as on the merits of the argument. You can win a debate, obviously, by having more popularity, but no one is ever going to prove that 0.99 repeating is not equal 1. Why? Because it's impossible. Right? So I like to discuss or debate items I can't be wrong on. And I don't mean that to be like weird. The reason why I like to debate or discuss things I can't be wrong on, because if somebody doesn't accept the fact that they're objectively wrong on things that have objective facts to be had, how are they ever going to evaluate subjective claims fairly and effectively? How are they ever going to change their mind on something that has no objective fact? They're not being intellectually honest at that point. If I say A equals A and you tell me that's wrong, how am I going to take you seriously for anything else that could ever have discussion about? You know, it just absolutely makes no sense. All right, let me go back to the chat here. So sorry, I didn't mean to ignore you all. Limit yourself to Facebook and Twitter. Why can't I find smart people that agree with me? Well, I mean, Kapuna, where else am I going to go? I only have so many social medias. I don't like Instagram, right? I mean, what's your suggestion? I've got 3 YouTube channels. I've got Twitter. I've got Facebook. And isn't that where all the atheists hang out in these Facebook groups? Atheist versus theist, atheist versus religion, Christians versus theists. I mean, come on, I'm in all of them. Still can't find any honest atheist in there willing to have a discussion when they disagree with me. Yeah. K80, you gotta be effing kidding me, dude. About what? Hey, Athena, goddess of wisdom and warfare. How you been? So yeah, it is much more difficult these days. Katie says, you seriously need a producer. I'm sorry my producer died. I'm sorry, Katie. Katie, I had a producer. He passed away. I don't have the ability right now to get a producer. I don't have this time schedule that'd be fair to a producer. And this is not the format to have a producer. These are just streams. So, yeah. I'm sorry, I'm not going to get a producer. I could never replace Bullinator anyways, man. I don't want a producer. I don't even want another co-host. I just there's nobody that'll ever replace Bullinator for me. The Facebook atheists make me chuckle. It's sad, dude. It is sad how dumb Facebook atheists are. I mean, and I'm not speaking for every single one of them. I'm not trying to make a categorical generalization. I am being very specific to the new atheist, TM, the ones that will sit there and tell you that a logical fact is not a logical fact. Like when I tell you, if it is true that that P, then P must be true, and you tell me that's wrong, I'm not going to take you seriously. If I say for all of X, X equals X, and you say that's not right, I'm not going to take you seriously. If I give them a logical proof that is valid and is clearly sound, let's say I use premises that everybody was going to agree with. If I use a premise 1 + 1 = 2, would you not say that's a true premise? And they still will argue that it's not valid or sound. I've had it happen in real time. I've done this multiple different times when I have put a valid proof on Facebook in a group that is a simple modus tollens, and I've had atheists tell me that is not valid and will die on that hill. And I'm thinking to myself, how is it that you can be so fundamentally wrong and so just blatantly arrogant about it? I do go on Modern Day Debate. He can't find anybody that will debate me. I like James. I do go on Discord. I won't go to Clubhouse. Clubhouse is just, most of them are just contrarians. I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested in a contrarian. I want somebody who wants an actual challenge that will actually step up to the plate and answer the questions I ask them. Because when I ask somebody, it is kind of like the Socratic method in that I want them to be able to answer the questions on their own accord and come up with their own conclusion that they're wrong. I'm leading them down a path of to show why they're wrong. And there's reasons for this. So if I ask you a simple question, it's not to sharpshoot. I don't ask difficult questions. You guys have seen my shows. I don't ask hard questions. I don't ask anything beyond first year stuff or even high school level stuff. Right? And I'll even let people look it up. I don't care. But they don't even do that. 420 Cafe, that's Brojo's Discord. Which I got no issue with Brojo, but whatever. And I know Antonio hangs out there every so often too, right? So, yeah, I wouldn't have a problem with the 420 Cafe, I don't think. But I command Cyborg. GF says, I'm not sure what's worse, Facebook atheist groups or John Richards on Twitter. Oh, what? Equal? Hey, Goddess, you want to come in? Do you want me to open up a meet real quick for you, man? But John Richards, dude, he typifies dumb atheist. Oh my God, is that dude stupid? Like straight up stupid. He has actually argued two of the dumbest things of all time. Not just one, but two of the dumbest things of all time. Let me tell you what they are. You ready for this? First dumb thing he argues, and I am not exaggerating this, and Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong on this. John Richards argues that the law of identity for all of x equals x, does not hold true in reality. Why? Because of time. I don't even need to go into more detail than that because it's stupid. If you would like me to, I will. But that should be sufficient to tell you how dumb he really is. But is that not correct, Jeff? That John Richardson, who was the head of the Atheist Alliance, well, no, he wasn't the head. He was the program director for the Atheist Alliance International. He argues that for all of x equals x does not hold true because of time. Also, he argues, get this, that animals, the kingdom of Animalia, came from the kingdom of Plantia. That animals evolved from plants. Not just common ancestry, not having a common ancestry, not just, calling us protistas. He argues, as an atheist, that animals evolved from plants. Wrap your head around that one. Just think about that one, okay? And then I had Michael Sherlock today, who was the head, the head of the Atheist Alliance International, who got kicked out because he had a discussion on Twitter with Caitlin Gleason a long time ago, because she was basically trying to troll him, and he fell for it. Now he trolls other people. But Michael Sherlock from Atheist Alliance International told me that I was wrong, but he will not debate me on it. And I'm like, well, okay, what's your evidence for it? He won't even give me any evidence for any of his claims. He said, well, I have a master's degree. I'm like, dude, your master's degree is in social anthropology. Don't try to bullshit me. You're going to say that I'm wrong on the topic of philosophy. Go for it. But don't try to say your master's degree in social anthropology and think that I'm going to take you as an expert in philosophy. Because he could not show a shred of evidence about atheists being, by necessity, the logical dichotomy of theism. He holds that agnostics must, by logical necessity, be an atheist, which is bullshit. That is just not true. And so Michael Sherlock has basically become just like John Richards. So basically, you have two people that were both involved in the Atheist Alliance International, who are just dumb as hell. I mean, and I like Michael in some regards. I think Michael did get screwed. But when Michael argues like a flat earther, yeah, I can't take him seriously. And John Richardson is just morbidly stupid. Hi, Kano. I decided to stream tonight. I was working in the closet. I needed a break. And then I was on Facebook, and some guy was just like talking mad shit, how he can run circles around me in philosophy and it just, bury me. I'm like, okay, great, let's do it. And he comes on here, and he didn't even know who Dr. Draper or Dr. Oppie was, or Stanford Encyclopedia, or what a proposition was. I'm like, okay, look, I'm not going to tell a chemist he's wrong about chemistry. You know why? Because I know shit all about chemistry these days. I had very basic chemistry courses. I don't know enough about chemistry to tell a chemistry's wrong. Now, but if a chemist says, well, water is H2O2, well, yeah, then I know a little bit. It would say, well, that's not true. That's hydrogen peroxide. And if I have a chemist says, no, Steve, hydrogen peroxide is H2O and water is H2O2, then yes, I will argue that he's wrong. Because why? Because you can go show that chemist that he's wrong. And that person should probably be a chemist. But for the most part, I'm not going to argue with people that are experts in their field on certain things when I don't have anywhere near the information to do so. But I don't need to be an expert in philosophy to understand some basic stuff and be able to show logically that it's the case. And if you want to show the logic is wrong, just show the logic's wrong. But even my paper, which a logician that I never met before had said, yeah, your logic is fine, then yeah, then stop saying my logic is invalid when it's not, Sherlock isn't corrupt the way Richards is, though. I agree with that. No, I don't think Michael Sherlock is corrupt. I don't think. I mean, in fact, I think Michael Sherlock got shit on unnecessarily. But John Richards is straight up corrupt. He has absolutely no integrity whatsoever, and I really haven't been majorly impressed with John Hamill. I get a blind carbon copy of everything that John Hamill writes about the Atheist Alliance International, and the illegitimate board that they have, and the things that they did. And he just seems spot on. That dude knows his stuff. And John Richards lied through his teeth. And I read the report, by the way. I read the report they did on, and they were not kind to John Richards. But it could have been a lot worse. I think they had him. I think they really minimized and downplayed stuff, but they were recognizing that maybe mistakes were made, and they were by John Richards, because John Richards didn't seem to understand how subscriptions work, or how he didn't understand what was in charge of memberships, and he didn't understand the bylaws. He got those wrong. But Jeff, am I incorrect in any of this from my understanding? Because again, I don't follow it too much. But did I say anything that wasn't correct to you from what you want to know about when it comes to Atheist Alliance International? And you know what? And what's funny is AAI could have been a good organization. They had standing with the United Council, the UN nation, the United Nation, right? They had standing with them. They're the only atheist organization that did. Because American Atheist Republic, they're just idiots. They're full of just the absolute dumbest of the dumb. Who wants to join any of them? I am sorry, but if you're a member of American Atheist or Atheist Republic, you're probably stupid. I don't know how else to put it. But at least with AAI, they were making a difference. They were affecting real lives. They were affecting people that lived in third world countries that were being killed because of their beliefs. That makes a difference. And then you had John Richards screw it all up by lying about things. And putting on a false directors, a bunch of directors that weren't voted in by the bylaws. Oh, it's a rabbit hole. Yeah, absolutely rabbit hole. Yeah, AAI threw Richards under the bus, but in that document, but I don't think it was strong enough, dude. I don't think AAI distanced themselves strong enough from Richards. That was sugar-coated, to say the least. Did they damn him? Yes, but in my opinion, it should have been a hell of a lot worse. Because John Richardson is just not just incompetent, but he's just vehemently dishonest. So, anyways, oh my God, I got to get over this stuff, Kano. This is why I haven't been streaming much. My voice, I just don't talk to a lot of people, even real life, because I'm trying to get over whatever I have, and I still got the cough. I still got the congestion, although it's way better than it was. How's your night tonight, Kano? Thing is, Richards isn't the ringleader of the corruption. Oh, I get that. No, he's a patsy. I don't remember the names of the people on the board, but John Richards is a patsy. Dare I ask about Australian atheist? I happen to like Australian atheist. Chris Attlee, who is aka atheist pastor, I don't know if he goes by that any longer, from Hereticals. He's Australian. I love that dude. I love him. I really do, man. Chris is a great freaking dude. And he's an atheist that actually will talk about topics and not, argument by meme. I respect that. Yeah, but Australians, they're some badass people, right? Australians don't mess around. They're like Gen X, man. You don't play. They don't play. When you mess around with an Australian, fuck around and find out kind of shit. They will not. They play hard, and I respect that. But Gen X is the same way, man. We don't play at a lot of stuff, man. This is why I'm so blunt, and probably why I have so many people that hate me is because I just tell it the way it is, and I will never be popular because of that. I got kicked out of the atheist, cool kids club because I spoke out against them. And that was heretical to them. And I wasn't the only one. I mean, look at some of the other people that did, like Rationality Rules. He was branded a heretic at one time. It's so funny because rationality rules and cosmic skeptic have come around and adopted my usages and admitted that yes, atheism is better off being the belief that God does not exist. That took a lot of coming out for that. So work is boring. I'm sorry. We still got pancakes here. Can I have the pancakes? I'm getting hungry. I don't want onion water. I'm not gonna drink onion water. Oh my God. She thinks if you drink onion water, just like all magical healing kind of stuff. It's nasty. I like onions, but I ain't gonna drink onion water. Lady Firebrand, yep, we don't deal with people's crap. I've been told off many times for telling it like it is. Exactly. And that's why I'm happy where I'm at. I'm happy with the people that have stuck around because they appreciate directness. I want people to tell it the way it is and not sugarcoat things and not obfuscate. I answer direct questions. Why can't they? Even on Facebook, you ask me a question, I'm going to give you an answer. But one guy, he asked me a question. I answered his question 9 times in 9 different ways, and he's just like, you haven't answered the question. Oh, fuck off at that point, Yeah, I'm probably going to eat those pancakes. I'm hungry. Should I see what's on Facebook? Yeah. So somebody like this person, hey, what's wrong with somebody not knowing about them? Oppie and Draper. I'm sure there's famous people in other fields that you know nothing about. The reason being is because if you're going to argue against my arguments and say that I'm wrong, it's inconceivable to me that you're going to argue from a position of knowledge, not know who Draper or Oppie is. It's like arguing my physics is wrong and not knowing who Newton was. Or argue that my astrophysics is wrong and not know who Lawrence Krauss or Neil deGrasse Tyson is. It just seems weird to me. These are just such big names in philosophy of religion that if you're going to argue my philosophy of religion is wrong, that how would you not know who they are? I mean, Oppie is one of the most prolific and most, I think, brilliant atheist philosophers of our generation, and he's a great guest. So how is it you're going to tell me that philosophy of religion that I talk about is wrong, not know who Oppie is? I don't know. I mean, I'm not trying to overthink that, but it's just, But here, I asked a quiz. Here, this is the quiz that I asked on Facebook. Let me show you guys. What can I do with this? I'll just screenshot it. One sec. Quiz time. Let's do quiz. You guys want to play a game? It's late. Let's play a game. Save there. Let me do this. Let me do this. You guys like quiz time. Image. Add source. One sec. All right. We'll put it on the TV screen. Can you guys see that? Is that big enough? Can you read that on the outside? Or do I need to make it bigger? I'll make it bigger because I don't think I don't want to make that bigger. There you go. There, now you should be able to read that. All right, so let's play quiz time. Now, it's so funny because I had asked this question, and I get the dumbest responses. It's like, this is on my Facebook page, too. This is not even in a group, right? It's like, if you're following me on Facebook or you're subscribed to me on Facebook or whatever, following or what they call it, friends, you know kind of what you're going to expect. And it's on my page. So don't tell me how to run my page, but let's play this game here. So first question, quiz time. What does Dr. Draper say an atheism represents? Number 2, what does Dr. Oppie say theism and atheism are in relationship to each other? Number 3, what did Dr. Flew, this should be say was the usual understanding of the word atheism? Number 4, what does Dr. McCormick say what view atheism is? And number 5, what does Burgess Jackson say are the positions, BSG, BS, whatever. Now, the reason I asked those questions is because those are 5 PhDs that have written about this topic that if you're going to be talking about philosophy of religion, you might want to familiarize yourself with, right? So if you're talking about the basics of philosophy of religion, these are 5 names I would think people should know. I didn't say in here that if you didn't know them, you were stupid. I didn't say if you didn't know any of the names, you didn't know philosophy of religion, although it kind of implies that. But I just asked quizzes. I just asked the questions. Why? Because again, if you want to know about the topic, you should probably know these 5 names. What is wrong with that? I mean, the questions I got, I mean, the responses I got is like, here, yet more narcissistic preening. How is this narcissistic preening? What does Dr. Pepper say about soda? This is the state of atheism, people. They don't have, instead of answering the questions on my own personal Facebook page. That's what, oh no, okay, that was actually on a forum. I'm sorry. I put it on my Facebook page and I put it on the atheist forum. I'm sorry. My bad. This was from a group. But even still, that really doesn't take away from anything. How is that a rejoinder? How is that a response? How is it? Why would anybody write that? Because again, new atheists don't want to talk about the issues. They don't want to talk about the arguments. All they want to do is troll. New atheism is a troll group. Is a troll group just like flat earthers are. Same arguments, same rhetoric, same fallacious reasoning. All they want to do is try to rile people up. All they want to do is troll people. That's it. So Res Rhetoric has the domain of Flat Earth. He has all those flat earthers trolling him. So maybe going in the new year, I'm going to have the domain of New Atheist TM. I'm going to be the atheist whisperer. I'm going to be the person who will debunk New Atheist trademark people, just like Reds does with Flat Earth. Yeah, maybe that's what I'll be trying next year, I think. Yeah, we'll go with that. So, yes, maybe this channel will be dedicated to that. I don't know. So, I've still got a lot of other things I got to write too. Like when people just write, put a dictionary. Oh, you're wrong. Here's a dictionary. Okay, I'm done. Okay. I'm going to send them to a page and say, look, you're not really worthy to have a discussion with because you're stupid. I really cannot believe that people think that if you post a dictionary, you're somehow arguing something of consequence. All you're showing is that a dictionary is describing something. That's it. Who cares? All right, but anyways, I'm gonna wrap it up. I'm gonna finish some stuff, and I'm gonna have some pancakes. Then I'm gonna try to get some sleep. I do have to work tonight, so guys, thanks for hanging out. I appreciate it. I really do apologize that this guy was not anywhere near what I was expecting, but he was talking so much shit. I'm like, okay, fine, let's debate, let's do this. And then he comes on, he's just super, super drunk and stupid. So, what are you gonna do? We're gonna call it a night. If you guys have any questions, please leave a comment. If you find any atheists out there that want to talk about these 2 subjects that's in the video description, please let me know. Ask around. So far, I have not found anybody willing to do so. And just as a disclaimer, I'm looking for new people, not somebody that I know or have ever talked to before prior. So that leaves out anybody that I've known historically. I want somebody that I've never met before, that honestly holds these positions that I am wrong, and that can at least try to articulate in some kind of reasonable manner why that is the case I'm wrong. Okay? Yeah, sure, I might have to go outside those things, but we'll see. We'll cross that bridge when it comes to it, Momo. Okay? Right now, my key is just getting over whatever this thing I've got, and it's been, a month now? And yeah, it's just persistent. And you guys really hope understand that when you are feeling like crap, you don't want to stream. When you have a massive headache and you're coughing and you're congested, and your body is aching, especially during season where you're staying longer hours than usual, you really don't feel like getting on stream and talking. So you can tell even in my voice, I can hear it myself. I'm not as enthusiastic as I usually am. I'm not enunciating like I usually do. My arguments are still good, but I'm not my usual self. And I apologize for that. I hope people just understand that and will give me a little leeway and flexibility, at least for another 2 weeks, right? Like I said, I'm still trying to put out content where people can watch. I'm still trying to do a lot of social media stuff. But as far as like my subscribers, my Patreons, and my members, I got to put out product for them. I mean, I have no choice because that's what they subscribe for, and I want to keep them happy. And I will be doing that. It's just I have to get over the sickness first. So, Ethereal, good night. Thank you very much, Momo Jack. Thank you, Goddess Scummer. Thank you very much for being here and modding. Kano, I adore you. You know that. I hope you have a good night tonight. And everybody, Athena, thank you so much for being here. William, thank you. And with that, good night.